Imagine a man who had it all: a successful career, a beautiful family, and a life of luxury. For Victor Biela, a high-flying urban professional, he truly believed he was a good husband. His family lacked nothing. Their 2 children attended the finest private schools, and he and his wife drove matching luxury SUVs, complete with personalized number plates. Their opulent home in an exclusive complex nestled in the plush northern suburb of Bryanston was a testament to their success. Exquisitely furnished and decorated. Victor worked hard, but what if he had a secret pastime? A thrill he sought outside his perfect life. For Victor, that thrill came from exploiting eager, naive young junior auditors at his firm. It was a perk of the job, an unspoken understanding among the senior partners, a way to relieve stress. The unwritten rule: never get caught. The firm had a sexual harassment policy designed to protect employees, but in truth, most senior male employees treated it like a mere suggestion. In private conversations, they'd laugh, exchanging tips on their loopholes. Secure in the knowledge, their boys' club would protect them if any junior dared to speak out. Victor was one of the best of this elite breed, men at the top of their game, expertly navigating company politics to achieve senior partner, general manager, or managing director status, while making themselves indispensable. For Victor, the intoxicating rush of illicit encounters was his escape, his preferred method of coping. It was all a game to him. The thrill of the chase was paramount. The more a woman resisted, the greater his sense of accomplishment when he ultimately achieved his goal. He knew some of his past conquests had called him a corporate predator, but he dismissed it. He believed they'd return in an instant if he offered the slightest encouragement. He was that good, and worse, he knew it. Many of the young women he'd targeted went on to date and marry others, but a few still looked wistfully his way, hoping for another encounter. Victor remained unmoved. The excitement of the pursuit and the novelty of a new conquest were unmatched for him. His wife had some idea of his indiscretions, but the sheer number would have truly shocked her. She chose to turn a blind eye, having resigned herself to her role as the perfect wife and mother, maintaining a respectable image that benefited Victor when it mattered most. Year after year, Victor's stature at the firm grew. All the while, he continued to target young, impressionable women serving their articles under him. This year, as managing partner, he broke tradition. He insisted on personally meeting the new crop of junior auditors. And sure enough, one immediately caught his eye. She wasn't his usual type. He typically preferred light-skinned and curvy women. But there was something about this one. Tall, with a darker complexion, her figure was lean, lithe, and athletic, like a greyhound. When she smiled, an endearing little gap appeared between her front teeth. She seemed shy, shifting uncomfortably under his intense gaze. He asked Aviwe, the HR manager, her name, Shongotela Maluleke. Victor was intrigued. She had topped her accounting class at the University of Limpopo. A country girl, he thought, whose studies the firm had funded. In the weeks that followed, Victor paid Shongotela special attention. He requested she bring him files, coffee, and gave her special assignments that required her to be alone with him. He called her Shongi, pronouncing the X with a soft shh sound. She would blush endearingly when he complimented her. A month into her articles, he was no closer to achieving his objective with her. He wasn't in a hurry. He still had other young women who were willing to meet his demands. One day, Aviwe overheard a rapid-fire Setswana conversation in a deserted breakout area. To her surprise, she saw Shongotela pacing agitatedly as she spoke. Aviwe, being Xhosa, understood little Setswana, so she couldn't follow the conversation. She made a mental note to check on Shongotela. Later, Shongotela explained that her mother was a Motswana and she had been dealing with a family issue, but it was now resolved. Shongotela continued to take on the special assignments requested by Victor. Aviwe tried to warn him not to show obvious favoritism, but her warnings fell on deaf ears. Shongotela herself seemed innocent, staring uncomprehendingly at Aviwe when she tactfully advised her not to spend too much time alone with Victor. Aviwe also tried to gently persuade Victor to dissuade him from taking advantage of the young woman. He feigned innocence, insisting he saw great potential in Shongi and wanted to mentor her. Yes, Aviwe thought, just like all the others. Sexual exploitation wasn't limited to childhood abuse. Disgusted, Aviwe gave up. They were, after all, consenting adults. The hunter in Victor was now in full pursuit, unwavering in his focus on his prey. Shongotela, meanwhile, maintained her coy and endearing manner while remaining impeccably professional. She was a quick learner, highly organized and efficient, and soon she was even trusted with keys to Victor's office. She was even entrusted with keys to Victor's office, much to the annoyance of Janet Lee, Victor's personal assistant. Early one morning, Janet arrived at the office as usual, only to find Shongotela already in Victor's office. She was holding the brass food dog ornament that sat on his desk. Just as Janet appeared in the doorway, Shongotela seemed a little flustered. She quickly put the ornament back in its place, then took some files from the in-tray and hurried off to the open plan office where she usually worked. Janet tried to tell Victor about the incident, but he dismissed it, claiming he had asked Shongotela to come in early to review files he had left for her. A couple of days later, they were working late, reviewing financial reports for a very large client who was listing one of their divisions on the New York Stock Exchange in a few weeks. Shongotela brought Victor a tall black Americano as requested. She set the coffee down in front of him. He looked up, smiling suggestively, and reached out, touching her hand, a gentle, lingering touch. Shongotela froze, unsure what to do. Victor gave her a winning smile, pleased by her reticence. He looked forward to preying on her just as he had done with so many other colleagues. Over the next few days, Victor was pleased to see Shongotela giving him coy glances. For him, that meant he was nearing his objective. The team gathered at a nearby restaurant and bar for drinks on a Thursday evening. As the evening wore on, colleagues began to leave. A few senior partners departed early. Their marks, the junior auditors they were targeting, leaving a few minutes later to join them in the parking lot to avoid suspicion. Victor reverted to a trick that had served him well over the years with tougher targets. He pretended to be too drunk to drive and asked Shongotela to drive him to his friend's place to sleep it off. This tactic often worked on young women eager to drive his sleek BMW 7 Series. Shongotela agreed. Victor put on one of the best performances of his career, feigning severe intoxication, even leaning heavily on her as they walked to his car. A couple of the remaining senior partners exchanged knowing looks. They'd seen this act before. They'd even tried it themselves, but no one executed it as flawlessly as Victor. Victor lolled in the passenger seat. His pulse quickened as Shongotela leaned over to fasten his seatbelt. She selected the address from the list displayed by the built-in GPS system. Shongotela drove the car smoothly, navigating the suburban roads from their office. When they arrived at the apartment block a few kilometers away, Victor pressed the remote control to open the gate, and they drove in, the gate closing behind them. The friend's place was empty. Shongotela helped Victor up 2 flights of stairs to the first floor. He was highly aroused. Her arm was around his waist, his over her shoulder. The place was clean, well kept, but devoid of personal touches. It was, in fact, the slaughterhouse, as the firm's boys' club called it. They pooled funds to rent the place, bringing young, unsuspecting women there. This was a common practice among men of their social standing. When a lease was up, they'd find a similar property nearby and move to avoid detection. As Shongotela placed Victor on the sofa, she bid him goodbye, saying she would call an Uber. Emboldened by the privacy of the quiet apartment and consumed by desire, Victor stood up and pulled Shongotela towards him. Slipping his hand inside her blouse, he unhooked her bra, murmuring, "You smell so good. I can't wait to." What happened next stunned him for years to come. Shongotela wrestled free of his grip. She punched him hard in the stomach. They'd whirled around him, kicking him firmly on the back of his right knee. He landed face down on the floor. Before he could react, he felt his hands pulled behind his back and the cold steel of handcuffs click around his wrists. Shongotela took the remote from his pocket and opened the gate. As Victor lay on the ground trying to process what was happening, he managed to raise his head. He saw Shongotela squatting next to him, the barrel of a revolver aimed directly at his forehead. Gone was the coy smile and hesitant manner. In its place was the grim, determined look of a woman not to be trifled with. For the first time in his life, Victor was speechless. The door opened. 3 police officers walked in. They saluted her. "Lieutenant Colonel." "At ease, captains," she replied, rising to her feet. Victor finally found his voice, protesting loudly as he was led to the waiting police van. Curious neighbors and workers at the complex emerged to watch the unfolding drama. Victor was driven to police headquarters for questioning. 6 months later, Victor appeared in court, facing 1 count of attempted rape. The star witness was Lieutenant Colonel Maluleke. He was also tried for several other counts of sexual assault with aggravating factors. That little drunken act, his signature move to lure unsuspecting young women, was revealed as the modus operandi of a serial predator. Most of his victims had been too scared or ashamed to report him, except for one. Unfortunately for Victor, that one victim was the niece of the chairperson of the ruling party's Women's League. Lieutenant Colonel Maluleke, with her apparent youth and petite figure, had bravely volunteered to go undercover, to be the bait for the investigation. She had meticulously collected information using a recording device she had hidden inside the very food dog that sat on Victor's desk. Once Victor was arrested, the case was fast-tracked through the court system, attracting significant media attention. The accounting firm quickly issued a media statement condemning the crimes and pledging to enforce its sexual harassment policy. Our viewer was initially shocked, then felt a profound sense of vindication. More victims came forward, some still working for the firm. To redeem its damaged reputation, the firm paid for therapy sessions and, where required, financial compensation for the victims. Victor was sentenced to several years in prison, serving concurrent sentences. He was sent to Leeuwkop, maximum security prison in Johannesburg. He would only be eligible for parole after a minimum of 5 years. His wife filed for divorce, which went uncontested. He received the news one cold, rainy morning from one of his few remaining friends. The rest of the boys' club had quickly distanced themselves. In a single evening, Victor had gone from being successful and respected to a target for the prison gangs. He never made it out on parole. He contracted HIV/AIDS and eventually died of complications from pneumonia. His body was collected by his siblings, who quietly buried him back home in KwaZulu-Natal. A chilling tale of a predator caught in his own traps. What are your thoughts on Victor's downfall? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And let us know what you think of the stories and if you'd like more.